Hello everyone, welcome to the match preview. Yes, we're doing another preview. We did one on the drive tune, and we're doing another one for Man United this weekend. Now, obviously, it's St James's Park. I'm doing the double header. I'm at the women's game. That kicks off at 2. It finishes about 10 to 4, 5 to 4. And we jump in my car, head 2 or 3 miles from Kingston Park to just up the road at St James's Park and go to that game. That'll be a mad rush, but I'm doing the double header one after another. So that'll be interesting. But obviously, Man United come to town. Obviously, they're playing Lyon. Just recently in the Europa League, Onana doing what he does, and obviously there was a little bit of beef between Nemanja Matic and Andre Onana, and Matic has basically turned around and said he's one of the worst goalkeepers in Manchester United history. Onana's then said that at least I've won trophies with Man United, some others can't, and then Onana goes and makes a mistake, and it's unusual for current players to publicly call each other out. Now, it's obviously happened with Soberslai recently as well, so maybe this is a common trend that might start happening, but you've just got to be very careful that this doesn't become a thing on social media and stuff, because you know that they'll get reprimanded. But look, you've got to target Onana this weekend. It's calamity. He's absolute calamity. Yes, Man United have improved, or it's slightly, I would say, under Amorim. But he probably needs a lot more time for him to have an impact. Man United come to Newcastle with realistically nothing to play for in the league, which is mental seeing that. It is. Imagine me seeing that Man United come to St James's Park with nothing to play for, but that's how far they're falling, dude. They're all putting all the eggs in the basket in the Europa League, because if they win that, they go in the Champions League. They're not going to qualify for Europe this season for the league positions. Same as Spurs. So the Europa League probably it's priority for them. So do I expect some changes from their game on Thursday? I probably do. But we'll see. I think the question what I would throw at any Man United fans who are watching this: how many of your Man United players can get in our Newcastle 11? I only think there's one. Generally, I think there's one. And you probably have to move one of ours or your player out of position, and that's Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes, whatever you think of him, I know you get a lot of hate and what have you because he's a twisty bugger and whatever, but he's a talent. He's more or less. I nearly called him world class. He's probably just underneath that tier. He's that second bracket. Fernandes is brilliant. Where would he play in the Newcastle system? Because you've got Tonali, Joe Linton, Bruno Gomes. You could move Joe Linton out wide and then bring in Bruno Fernandes, and that's because you haven't just to get a Man United player in there. I don't think there's any others, and it's mad seeing that. It is absolute mental seeing that. I just generally don't feel. Can you name any other Man United players? Because I cannot. I generally cannot. That's how far they're falling, and it's obviously the crowd will be up for it. Look, it's still Man United. Man United will bring a fantastic away support. They do. They get a lot of stick from me as well for having a lot of plastics who sit at home watching it on the TV and not even nowhere near Manchester. But the ones that go all the time to away games, fair play to them because they sell out, and I've got respect for that. I don't have much respect for teams who come to St James's Park and sell out 1 or 2 banks because that's shit support. So whatever you say about Man U, there's away support. You have to say that. But I expect Newcastle to at least put on a show. Look, you expect Newcastle to go on and get 3 points, and look at the last few games of the season. You would say that the Arsenal away one is probably tough, but hopefully the league's done by then, which it will be, I think. And Villa away, I think Villa away is probably the more hardest. But Man United at home, can Newcastle go on and make that another win? Obviously, on a fantastic win of 4 in a row. Can we make that 5? You would probably, the odds will be in Newcastle's favour, being at home. Against Man United, we've got a goodish record at home, but obviously for Newcastle we've got still a lot to play for. We've won the League Cup, and look, you've got to remember as well, after Man United you've got Palace in midweek, so there'll probably be some rotation for the Palace game. That's a game in hand. If you said to me what's more important, you've got to say it's Palace, surely, because that's your game in hand. But if you go and lose against Man United and then win Palace, that makes no difference. I think you've got to go and get 6 points, surely. Minimum, absolute bare minimum is 4 from these next 2 fixtures. But you've got to make that game in hand count on next Wednesday after that. And I think that's where there'll be a bit of rotation, potentially with 2 or 3 changes. But I expect Newcastle to have 55-60% of possession. I expect Newcastle to probably create a little bit more. Man United might gift us a goal. Don't be too surprised if Man United end up scoring, though, because they're still capable of doing that. I know the strikers are goal shy, but especially with Bruno Fernandes and some of the wide players can be very dangerous, and the likes of Garnacho. Man United just need to get through the end of the season, qualify for winning the Europa League, and there's still a trophy, and I think that might. I'm going to look at that and probably think, do you know what, that's successful. I've got a trophy in the bag, and I've qualified for the Champions League after the shit show of Ten Hag. And I don't think it's huge strides, because people might say, well, wait a minute, David Moyes is massively improved Everton. Amorim hasn't done that. He's only slightly. But the whole Rashford thing and what have you and all of that, and we'll have to wait and see how their summer gets on. Can that actually spend as well? But look, we're going back to us. Will Anthony Gordon play? I think that's an option that, if he is fit, of course, this has been filmed just literally as the press has been done. I haven't seen it, but look, we'll have to wait and see, as Eddie Howe always says. But I think Barnes deserves to start, but that gives you the option of maybe Willock back from some concussions, hopefully. And Gordon, if he makes it. If not, you're a little bit stretched, because we're having to name a couple of goalkeepers, a couple of under-21s recently. We've got a few injuries there. Obviously, long-term, Lascelles should be hopefully back. Botman is still missing. Wilson is an option that you can change, and maybe you can move Isak out wide later in the game, or maybe go two top of things really aren't working for you. Obviously, Lewis Miley is getting more minutes than Sean at the minute. I think it'll be very, very similar starting lineup to the win against Leicester. But look, with going in this weekend, obviously I'll be covering it. It's just myself at St James's Park from the channel, which is very rare. So I'll be bringing you a little bit of a last word, probably by the car park and what have you. But score predictions, I want yours in the comments below. If you ask me the question, would you rather beat Palace or Man United? I would rather beat Man United. But that game in hand, I think you've got to get the 3 points against Palace, because we've got a good record at home against them. But anyways, that is your match preview for Newcastle versus Man United. Score predictions, I want to get them off you. Drop us a like in the comments. Thank you very much. Not a like in the comments. Drop us a like on the video. Put your comment in. See you, everyone. Ta-da.